Well, good day and welcome to you. It is Thursday, December the 2nd. I hope you're having a wonderful day wherever you happen to be. My name is Gary, this guy Willing, and I want to welcome everybody who is coming to this channel, whether you've heard this information or before or not. Glad you're here. Now, if you are new to the Search for Signs and you want to know more about what we talk about, because I know this information can sound quite crazy, utopian, and really far-fetched, but if you are interested on any level and you want to know more, definitely check out the links that I provided in the description portion of all these videos. Now, in the last video I put up today, or the first video I put up today, excuse me, I talked about Maitreya's biggest priority for humanity, that humanity must look at and start to work on right now, which is the need for peace. And I tied it into a YouTube TED Talk that I saw by a gentleman named Brian Toon. And hopefully you'll check out the link in the description portion of that video and this video, where if you go down to the very bottom, you can actually click on the YouTube talk and listen to what he has to say. Just a few minutes long. It's not a long talk, but he got me thinking about some things when it comes to the dangers of nuclear war, and hopefully it'll get you thinking about the same thing too. So hopefully you'll check it out. But Maitreya says peace is the most important thing that we can do as a humanity. Our very life depends on it, and the future of humanity depends on it if we, don't do something about it. So hopefully you'll check it out. All right, now, in the last video, I didn't have time to really discuss this comment, but I wanted to take the time to discuss it. It comes from Big Daddy Shane, who comments quite a bit on this channel, and you can go back and read all his comments if you'd like. I can save you a lot of time by telling you he doesn't agree with one single thing that I have to say. And there's no problem really letting me know how much he does not like what I have to say. Now, I have absolutely no problem with somebody not agreeing with what I have to say. He, on the other hand, I think causes him quite a disturbance, the fact that somebody is not seeing life the way that he sees life. But I hate to break it to you, Big Daddy Shane, but, most of us don't see the other person's point of view or the way that we see life, you know what I mean? And that's pretty much everybody. We all have a different take on life. So, sometimes you just have to kind of say, okay, they don't agree with what I have to say. Okay, it's not a big deal. But anyway, what did Big Daddy Shane have to say? He said, take this guy's advice and do not take his word for it. I'm going to stop you right there. Absolutely 100%. Do not take my advice do take my advice, and do not take my word for it. That's why I say it in every single video, Big Daddy Shane. Go check out the links that I provided for yourself. I know this information sounds nutty to people, and I don't want people to believe what I have to say just based on me saying it. I want you to go look for yourself and see if there's any truth to it. And I know the vast majority of the people are not going to believe this. And I'm fine with that. I'm actually totally okay with it. But that's why I have those links in there. Now, the website he provides is a shell of what it used to be. He's talking about the Share International site. I do provide other links, but he's talking about the Share International site. Now, I have to say this. When it comes to this website that's the shell of what it used to be, it really was never a really good functioning or good looking website at all, right? Now, the information on there was really good, which is really why I went to it. I didn't go there for the way it looked and the way it functioned, but the information is spot on. Now, is it up to date and as accurate as it could be if Benjamin Creme was alive? Of course. You're right. We were lucky to get information in the way that we did, coming from Benjamin Creme's master in the way that it did. That's why it was, so interesting to people. And I do think that people have lost a lot of interest in Share International, not maybe necessarily in the priorities of Maitreya, which is the most important thing, but they probably aren't quite as interested in going to the Share International website as they used to be since Benjamin Creme passed away, for sure. But the people who put up that information, I've known most of them for decades, and their commitment has not changed. It's always been about the future of humanity, about the need for peace, the need to end hunger. It's always been about the priorities of Maitreya, for them. And that's the reason why they continue to put this information out there. Where then you put, Creme was the guy trying to be the John the Baptist for Maitreya, if you will. Creme was not stupid. I agree 100%. I knew Benjamin Creme for over 2 decades, and he was quite intelligent, very wise, and very loving. But his love sometimes was a tough love. And believe me, he whacked me over the head with his tough love a few times. But nonetheless, very loving. He did know the Bible quite well, as you put. So when he made up this story that the snake oil salesman keeps bitching you in these videos, he knew folks with any Bible knowledge would go straight to the Antichrist, and for good reason. Yeah, he knew the Bible really well. And he read it the way the Bible should be read, really. Not that you have to agree with everything he said, but the way that the Bible should be read is symbolically. Especially Revelation should be really read symbolically, not taken literally. Even the things that were taken literally should be taken symbolically so you can apply it to your life, like what you sow, so shall you reap. That was a symbol for the law of cause and effect that Jesus was talking about. But it can be taken literally because a farmer, when they plant a seed in the ground, knows that whatever seed that they're planting in the ground, that's the crop that they're going to get, right? But we don't live our life like that. We think like, which I'm going to bring up here in just a second because you're talking about Barack Obama, but, a good example for all of us to see would be somebody like Donald Trump, who immediately comes out and starts calling the media fake news and a disgrace and they're hoax and they lie and he went from day one to try to discredit them because he knew that they would start digging up. It wouldn't take much to dig up too much dirt on him because he hauls a trainload of shit behind him to really fertilize the Sinai Peninsula. But anyway, that's why he did it. And then he wanted them to respect and love him. You know what I'm saying? Very simple. What you put out, you get back. And that's for each and every one of us, not just for Donald Trump. He's just a very dramatic character that you can see on TV very easily for yourself and then look at yourself. Well, what are you doing in your life? What am I doing in my life that I'm putting out that I'm getting back? But it was a symbol that Jesus talked about. And okay, so then, where is it? Oh, he said that the Antichrist is very real, and this Maitreya character is a perfect match. Now, he said Barack Hussein Obama is the Antichrist, or Maitreya if you go by Share International story. I've tried explaining it to this guy, but he just doesn't get it. It almost sounds like you're exhausted by telling me so many times. Anyway, I got a hard head too there, Big Daddy Shane, just like you do. And keep saying Jesus is not the Son of God, which tells you a lot. Now, I say Jesus is not the only true Son of God. There is a little bit of a difference. There's a distinction to what you're saying and what I'm saying. Jesus is the Son of God. He is the Son of God, but so are you. There's no separation between man and God, or between God and anything else. Everything in cosmos is God or divine. We all share that divinity. That's what Jesus was talking about. The kingdom of heaven is at hand. Maitreya says it in the same way. I come to teach the art of self-realization. He's talking about the same thing. Believe what you want, but Barack Hussein is not who you think he is, and we are all going to find out shortly. So as you put it in your last comment, buckle up. All right. Now, when it comes to anybody thinking somebody is the Antichrist, and this is for anybody just as a litmus test or a rule of thumb, as they say, look at who that person, the way that they are. Okay, so let's take it in terms of Big Daddy Shane thinking Barack Obama is the Antichrist, right? I can put money down that somebody who would, like Big Daddy Shane, who would say that Barack Obama is the Antichrist, is a far-right Republican thinking person. And so, if they are far to the left, they would think Donald Trump was the Antichrist. Now, Donald Trump wasn't the Antichrist, in just as much as Barack Obama wasn't the Antichrist. The Antichrist, according to the Ageless Wisdom Teachings, is an energy, and it was an energy released through the Axis powers during World War II. And it has a function, and the function is to destroy the old ways of thinking and relating to allow a new way of thinking and relating to occur. That's what it is, according to the Ageless Wisdom Teachings. But when somebody's looking for the Antichrist, they're always naturally going to go. I mean, you can lay money on it, really. It's going to be somebody that doesn't see life the way that they see life, whether it's politically, spiritually, or religiously, every single time. And Barack Obama, I think, was a fairly decent president. I don't think he was necessarily the best president out there, but he was a corporate Democrat. And he was always labeled as this progressive danger to society, that the country was going to drive the country right into the ground, which he didn't. But he backed the corporations about as much as most Republican presidents do. He's like Republican light, really. And same thing with Biden. I think Biden's kind of Republican light. I think it was way better than Donald J. Trump as president. I would take a Barack Obama over a Donald J. Trump, but there wasn't a lot of changes, and I don't think there could have been a lot of changes with Barack Obama based on the political divide in this country. Maybe he wanted to do more. I think he stood for a possibility of Americans, especially being the first African-American president, in that way. And I think in that way he opened some doors for other people to come through. But by and large, his policies were really corporate driven, really. But yet people think he's the Antichrist. And I always question that because it's like he's come and gone. He's still alive, but the presidency of him is gone. Nothing happened out of the ordinary under him other than he turned the economy around in this country. That's it, right? So everything else is pretty much business as usual in this country, but yet people are still afraid of Barack Hussein Obama. And they always like to throw that in there, that Hussein in there, because he, of course, had a Muslim, his background was Islam. Even though he was a Christian, he followed Christianity. His family, or his dad, I think, was Muslim. But anyway, whatever. So if you want to know more about what Big Daddy Shane thinks about who Barack Hussein Obama is and was or whatever, I put his link to his YouTube channel in there so you can get all the information you want from him. So hopefully you'll check it out. All right. But the one thing I do want to say, when it comes to the political divide in this country, you got extremes on both sides, extreme left and extreme right, and both sides see the other side as evil. The centrists they might not necessarily agree with the other person's side or the other side's view or whatever, but they don't have such an extreme viewpoint that, all Democrats are evil, Satan, pedophile cabals or whatever they call them, like the QAnons think that they are. There's no truth to any of that stuff. They're just Americans that have a different view on things than the right. And when the right finally realize, as well as the left, that their viewpoint on things are probably the same, like for instance, the abortion issue, the right to life. I'm all for the right to life, right? But be the right to life for everything, not just for abortion. End executions, end hunger, end poverty, create a literacy campaign in this country where everybody can read. That's the right to life too, is it not? Stop all wars all around the world. That's the right to life. But yet, they want to take one little aspect of something, and this is on both sides of things, and run it into the ground. And it really shouldn't be like that. But when people view the other side politically as the Antichrist, there's no truth to any of that stuff. So the one thing I do want to say, though, when it comes to U.S. presidents, one of the Master Joao, who wrote his works through Alice Bailey, said that the Antichrist was an energy that worked through the Axis powers of the fascists in Italy, the Nazis in Germany, of course, and the militarist in Japan. Not the emperor in Japan, but the militarist in Japan. And they were defeated. They weren't destroyed at the end of World War II. And what happened was, not long after World War II, the United Nations, under the direct influence of the United States, created the State of Israel. And they moved all the Palestinians who had been living there for centuries, moved them off their land, that they had the right to live there, moved them off and created these Israeli settlements and created the State of Israel. And it totally destabilized the Middle East. And according to Maitreya, there will never be peace in the world until the Palestinian and Israeli situation is resolved. And the problem with it is it also, that scenario with creating of the State of Israel, according to one of these masters, allowed that nefarious energy of the Antichrist to reemerge. And there were 3 more points of darkness that reemerged not long after the State of Israel was created. The Zionist in Israel was one point, around what was then Yugoslavia, or now the Baltic states. And then the third was in the Pentagon. And according to Benjamin Creme's master, every single U.S. president since then has been influenced by that nefarious energy in the Pentagon to some degree. He did say that the presidents were more influenced by it, but you couldn't say that the Democrats weren't. And so even Obama was influenced by it. But if you look at it historically, the presidents like George W. Bush were very much used by it. Donald J. Trump, very, very much used by that nefarious energy. You can just see it by their foreign policy, even by their national policy. But Barack Obama, it could be said, was influenced too by it as well, but doesn't mean he was the Antichrist any more than it would mean Bush or Trump were the Antichrist. But if you step back and you look at politics objectively and not so personally and subjectively as you probably are, Big Daddy Shane, or whoever else thinks that Barack Obama is the Antichrist, you might see that actually your interest in the Antichrist is actually coming from the fact that the Christ is already back in the world. People also don't understand the connection that we all have, the oneness and the unity that we all have, not only spiritually, but even mentally. And there's proof. You always want me to give you proof. I mean, if you look at scientists and inventors, for instance, over the history of the world, right? But especially during the Industrial Revolution, there's one very, very well-known case of this, and that has to do with an invention that we all use every day, which is the phone. Alexander Graham Bell invented the phone at the same time somebody else who he had never met was inventing the exact same invention. Put the patent in just minutes or hours or days or whatever it was right before the other person put his patent in. But the invention looked nearly the same. And what happens is these masters have plans for like one of them is inventions and scientific discoveries, and they put that thought out there. And then those people those scientists or inventors who are interested in it pick up on it. And that's how two different inventors can invent something that are very similar or discover some kind of scientific or medical discovery at nearly the same time, even though they never spoke to one another. Now, one of Maitreya's biggest priorities is the creation of a pool of knowledge accessible to all, which the internet is the precursor of it, but the intention behind this is not an internet where we can see TikTok videos. It has to do with the sharing of knowledge so that scientists that or inventors who are working on the same thing, who could, meet over, maybe a Zoom call or something like this, they can meet in that way and share what they're learning especially without cooperation or without competition, but with more of a cooperative attitude. And then the scientific discovery or the convention could be even better. So that's one of the priorities of Maitreya too. But that's evidence that there's a connection there. But when somebody like the stature of Maitreya enters our lives, it affects every one of us. This is what Jesus was talking about when he said, I come not to bring peace, but to bring a sword, to set father against son, brother against brother, mother against daughter, neighbor against neighbor. That's what he was talking about. It's the energy that creates that. It's why people who, like you, who are very interested in the Antichrist are creating this more interest for themselves in the Antichrist and assigning that label to whoever is different than what they're thinking, which is what you're doing. But it is a direct result of the energies of Maitreya that's causing this political divide, but it's also causing this interest in the Antichrist. So I am sure you don't agree with what I have to say, Big Daddy Shane, but I'm also saying this for other people who might be interested in it. So hopefully you have a great day, and hopefully this helps and clarifies.
Remember to take action and help SOP save our planet. Thanks for listening, and we look forward to talking to you again in future videos.